Welcome back to another episode of Marketing Girly by Sky Society. Today I am chatting with Ausley Karner. She is the Senior Manager of Influencer Content at NASCAR. Welcome, Ausley.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. I'm excited to talk about your journey, specifically within sports, and NASCAR is such a unique place to be within sports marketing. And I'm excited to jump into all of your wisdom today. But before we jump in, can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Of course. So my name is Ausley. You can call me Oz. I work at NASCAR as just like you said, senior manager of influencer content. In my role, I really primarily source and try to find influencers and content creators to come not only to NASCAR races, but NASCAR related events. And I would say that the main goal is to grow NASCAR's brand awareness and then also ingrain the sport in pop culture and even social media moments by working with them to produce meaningful content.
I love that. And what we were kind of chatting about before recording is that because NASCAR is not a physical product that you can buy online, like we're used to influencers promoting, beauty products or fashion or skincare or something that we can go to the link in their bio and purchase something with their code or just from their recommendation. It's a lot different with the sport because I think your goal is a little bit different. Can you maybe share a little bit about how your perspective on influencer marketing is different? I know you mentioned kind of experiences, but like, how do you look at it as a whole when it comes to approaching influencer marketing?
Yes. So just like you said, NASCAR doesn't have a physical product that I can send into the mail or someone to wear or try. So we really shift and focus on building out a fun event weekend or a true like VIP experience. I often tell a lot of people that I work with, you can see and watch the race on TV, but there's so much that happens hours before it and behind the scenes. And when you're out at the track that weekend, I really want you to dive into what happens before the race, what happens after, and showcase that experience to, your audience and hopefully our audience as well, because you just don't see it. And the beauty of it is I can help coordinate and set up a lot of fun things for these people. We have garage tours, we have a lot of access with the drivers, with the teams. So they ultimately come out and they're like, wow, I had no clue that I could do all of this at a race and this is a lot of fun. So
That sounds like a really cool job to have in the first place. I think experiences are so fun, so that's a really cool way to get to work with influencers. I'm curious, did you always have a passion for sports? Was NASCAR a dream company that you wanted to work at, or was it that it was as your career was progressing, an opportunity came up that fit aligned with your career goals?
I never in a million years thought I would work at NASCAR. I also never anticipated that I would get into the creator and influencer space. I knew that I loved working in entertainment and sports, but honestly, my husband and I moved to Charlotte. This job at NASCAR showed up. I was looking for kind of a switch from agency life back into sports and entertainment. And I knew I wanted to do something different. I'd been a social media manager and then specialist before at other places, and I wanted to switch. And so when I saw this opportunity, I applied, waited a few months, and finally got a call. And the process went pretty quickly, so much so that I only told my husband I was interviewing at NASCAR because I thought there's no way that they're going to hire me. And then they called one day and gave me an offer. So it was kind of funny telling my best friend and my mom, like, oh, yeah, by the way, I got a job offer at NASCAR. And they're like, what do you mean? Why didn't you tell us about this? I'm like, I didn't think it was going to happen. And I kind of wanted to, do it on my own and figure it out. So
That's
that was almost 3 years ago. And here we are now.
and okay, love that like it wasn't expected and that it was something because I always think there's kind of two ways that when I talk to guests that have these incredible jobs and careers is like some of them it's like I wanted to work that here, this was my goal, and I worked really like I was going that direction the entire time, and others are like certain opportunities happen and everything aligned and it wasn't what I expected, but obviously it's incredible. So it's curious to kind of see that that's your side of it. I know previously though you had some sports entertainment experience. So one question that I get asked all the time is, I want to break into sports marketing, but I don't have sports marketing experience. And I think your experience before was a bit unique because it wasn't like what we'd consider direct sports marketing experience. So if you can share a little bit about that period before, because I know you had about 8 years of just building up awesome experience at a different company, just to kind of shed some insight onto how you were able to then transition fully into sports marketing.
Yes. This is also kind of a fun, crazy story events, but I went to school at UNCG, which is in Greensboro, North Carolina. Had no clue what I wanted to do. I got a job as a lifeguard at a brand new pool facility that opened that also happened to be on the same, it was owned and operated and on the same campus as an arena. There was also a basketball team there, an outdoor arena, a special event center. So a lot of different kind of event spaces. So while I was working at the pool, I applied for an internship at the arena. I got it. And then from there, I just kind of took every opportunity that came my way. So worked a lot of concerts, a lot of basketball, gymnastics, Olympic trial events. We also had, fairs, graduations, the circus, you name it, it kind of came through there. And I made a point to try and work every single one of those events just so I could get a feel for each parts of the industry and figure out what I wanted to do ultimately. And then I graduated college. They hired me part time and then full time. And that's where I worked for full time. I think it was almost 5 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow, 5 years. Okay, that's a lot of time to be there at one company. And as you had mentioned, it looks like you were able to switch around and just it sounds more fun because you got to do a lot of different projects and events, which I'm assuming ties into your role now, where you are on the experiential side of marketing a little bit more, and then also working in sports. So do you feel like working at a company that had so many different parts of the business allowed you to have a broader depth of experience to then eventually help you later on in your career?
Yes. It was super helpful. I would always encourage, let's say while you're in college, but shortly after graduating, try to explore as many different avenues of a business as you can. Around that time as well, when I graduated before I got hired full time, I worked at a radio station in promotion. So I was still kind of involved in marketing, but within entertainment and sports. I just wanted to try as much as I could to figure out where I wanted to be. And also, it does help on a show night or when you're at an event. If you have a one track kind of idea or skill set about what you need to do, there's going to be other things that happen that throw you off, and you've got to learn, adapt, shift, and change, and be able to hop into maybe a quick customer service role, or maybe someone comes up and asks you like, "Where is the bathroom on the second level?" It's good to know those things because
Yeah.
you're a member of that facility and you want to be able to help people out. And I feel the same way about working at NASCAR. I try to learn and work with as many parts of the business that I can. And luckily, I do get to do that because my job does require building out weekends for people to have a good experience. So I'm talking to our box office, our hospitality, to parking, to security, everyone. And it just helps me better understand all the possibilities when it comes to a race weekend of what I can give my guests. And I view that as a positive thing. So,
Okay, okay. I definitely want to dive more into that piece of what those experiences look like. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about breaking into social media and influencer marketing. But I'm starting with talking a little bit about soft skills. You kind of had mentioned to me that you think soft skills are just as important as hard skills. I'm guilty of like really, really pushing that girls focus on hard skills and building those up. But I think you're absolutely right that soft skills and things like being coachable and eager to learn are also really important. So, can you share a little bit about soft skills that you think are really important and how, if you are on the job hunt, how to kind of think about your soft skills in the job search?
Yes. I would definitely say growing up, like I had this mindset that you had to, graduate from high school, graduate from college, then you get this job. And it was a little harsh reality once I graduated college that I'd had these internships and I had my degree, but I realized there's so much more than just the education piece. Like you do have to have, depending on your role, but I will say especially in social media and influencer marketing, you have to have some level of um, I don't want to say social skills, but interpersonal skills with other people. You got to be able to talk to them and figure out their needs and their wants. And just in general, kind of, I don't want to say be a nice person, but sometimes you do have to fake it a little bit just to figure out what they need and how to achieve that. And I understand that that is not for everybody. That is not how they are naturally. So it sounds silly, but there are a lot of books that I read that have helped me. And then, of course, recently with social media and TikTok and Reels and all of that, I see so many self help kind of tips and things that you can do to try to tap into some of those soft skills. But it's a journey. It's different for everybody. I will say, like, just what we were talking about, where I said trying to understand all parts of the business. I really do believe that this is going to sound silly when I say it, but it'll make sense in a second. You're never too important to be kind. And when I say that, I mean, when you walk by that security guy at the venue or at the track, say hi. When you run into another person that you maybe worked with one other time and you don't know that much about their job, but they look stressed, ask them, how can I help? Uh, I have tried to implement that wherever I go for work, and it has only helped me significantly because if you can, even if you're having a bad day, but if you can still have those moments with people, they remember it and they are more willing to come back and help you, to reach out when you have requested help from them. And then also, just a silly note with the security thing, like maybe I'm not supposed to have access to somewhere, but since I talked to that security guy and we have a little banter going, he's going to let me go through. And those things do matter. And those are soft skills, those are communication and personal skills that will help you in the long run because people do, they remember those things and how you made them feel and how you made them feel seen and important and you helped them. It's just a win all around, honestly.
Yeah, I think that is so important and also just so easy to do once you, as long as you start building it as a habit of just I like to call it being curious in other people, of just like
Yeah.
being curious outside of yourself, of like saying hi and asking how people are doing. And I even think there's this one place that every Friday my friends and I we go get like coffee and breakfast here. And I always like make a point to at least do my best to try to ask the waiters like how's it going? How are you doing? Because like I see them so often that I don't need to just have the like hi relationship with them, right? I can
Yes,
remember things
exactly.
and then they'll tell me, later on they might give me some insider tips or whatever, and like you don't need to essentially be doing it for that reason, but just making it a habit to be curious about other people and to just be kind all around. You have no idea where that simple kindness can like come back later and repay in tenfold.
Exactly.
Yeah, super important. I also wish, I feel like I was so shy when I was younger in my career that I was just like so scared to say hi to people that I wish that someone would have encouraged me to just do that more often because it's honestly just like such a great habit to build up.
I was the exact same way. I'm good one on one, but you get me in a group, I'm like, I don't know what to do. It's definitely a skill you have to work on,
Yes.
but you can do it. So
Yeah, it's good to know. Would you say you're an introvert?
funny enough, I had to take one of those tests at work, and now I cannot remember it, but I was on the scale of introvert extrovert. I was like one over into the extrovert.
Oh,
So I'm not full blown socialite butterfly, but I am good at it. But there are moments where I'm like, oh, I got to get out of here. This is too much for me.
yes. A good balance. Yeah, I'm an introvert, like in the sense of like I recharge alone. But like, and I've just growing older, you start to notice social situations that energize you and social situations that like deplete
Yeah.
you. So I'm like similar, like I love one-on-one, I love small group, I love dinner with, two, three, four friends, but like anything like big, like a big party, a big event, that's like really draining for me. But I know everybody's different with kind of
Yeah.
how that works.
Well, and honestly too, it's the Myers-Briggs test. I just remembered it. That's
Okay.
something I would encourage people to look into as a soft skill as well, because once I had that done, it showed me so much about myself, but then also I could see my other teammates and it helped me understand, oh, I should probably communicate with this person this way. Oh, I probably should do this because they are, an extrovert. And that's something really helpful. I think having that information about yourself, but then also your team can just help overall with everything.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then as far as breaking into the social media influencer marketing world, is there any advice that you have for how to speak to hiring managers or experiences that could be considered relevant, especially if someone may have to lean on a bit more transferable skills if they don't have a ton of direct experience in that area?
Yes, this one is very interesting to me because when I graduated, there was no social media was a thing. I got my first iPhone my junior year of college and downloaded Instagram like immediately. But there wasn't any courses or like true classes you could take to learn about it. So when I got into my social media role, I was kind of self-taught and evolving and growing as I went. And I think a lot of people at that time were as well, just figuring it out. The idea of a social media manager was just becoming a thing for bigger brands. Whereas a lot of people like myself, my title was an advertising specialist. I was at a smaller company, but that was the main part of my job was social media for all of the accounts for the arena. So my point to all of that is it is an interesting space. You need to cater your resume to the job you're applying for, to the brand. But also make sure that you speak on and try to get experience with business pages. Don't just base your experience off of any personal accounts. I know that we all have social media accounts and love them and know how to use them, for ourselves, but it truly is a different world when you get into the business and brand side of things. Even if there's a 3-month practicum that'll let you have access to the Meta business page or ads manager, take it and use that in your next interview or application on a job. Those will catch hiring managers' eyes. And then any kind of free platform you can use. Sprout Social is not free, but that's the first one that comes to mind because that's what my team uses. Canva, all of them, reference them, talk about your experience with them. That will give people a heads up that you have worked in that environment before for social media and that you have a grasp of what it is and what you can do.
Yeah, yeah, I think that is super important. And like you said, yeah, having the balance of it's great to have the personal social media that you do, but also really working hard to get that internship or work experience too to show that you can also do it on the brand side and having a good balance, I think is really important. All right, so let's jump back over to your role at NASCAR. You kind of talked and teased a little bit about your role doing influencer marketing and kind of tying that in with events. Can you maybe share a specific campaign that you did or an event that you did with influencers, or if you can share any influencers that you've worked with, or just something that really comes out or comes to mind as a really special experience that you got to work on at your current role?
Yes, I love this question because there is one that comes to mind, and it happened almost a year ago. We partnered with the hockey guys, and they came out to Talladega in an RV, and they spent the entire weekend camped in the infield. And going into that weekend, I'd never done anything like that with the creator influencer before. So I was very nervous. Number one, that the RV was just like not going to make it inside, that something was going to happen. I didn't know what I was thinking, expecting. But we built out their weekend. They spent a lot of time with one of our drivers named Amber Balkin. They got some really good content, and then they also, if you know anything about NASCAR, our tracks are pretty steep in the turns, and Talladega is actually the steepest. It's like a 33-degree incline. And so steep. I don't like heights. I cannot walk up it. It is scary. My legs and my body just get shaky, and I'm like, it's not for me. So we took the guys over there, and they filmed some really funny content going up banking. And I think like that Saturday night before the Cup Series race on Sunday, we edited the video. I approved it, posted it at night, went to bed, didn't really think twice about it. And when I woke up the next morning, I think it had like 3 million views. And I thought,
Oh my gosh.
what is going on right now? I've never had this happen before. I've never had a video go viral. Things have done well, but not like that. And it just kept growing and growing and growing as the week went on. I think it capped out at like 22 million views,
What?
1.5 million likes. It got reposted. The guys were so happy. They also did a vlog that weekend, and they posted a ton of other content that performed really well and looked just good. It showcased the sport from a different light, which is what I want, and what my team wants ultimately to happen. So they were great sports about it. You know, I went into that weekend thinking, oh, it's just another Talladega race. Like, we'll see what we can do. We're excited about working with Amber. They got the RV, but I left like, yes, that was amazing. Okay, now I can use what I learned from that weekend and then build out um, other exclusive experiences for creators and influencers to try to emulate the same thing.
So fun. So is the goal that, because like as a brand, I think brands struggle with what to post on social media sometimes, of like it can only be so much of like you filming the races, right? So is the goal, like I think kind of what you mentioned of like just showing a different side of the race, like do you give the influencers kind of creative control as to what type of content do they create, or are you kind of making content requests, or how does that creative process look like?
It really depends on each person and the race weekend. In that case, we did come together and kind of plan out some deliverables in advance. And I said, hey guys, we'll have access to the track at this time if you guys want to go on the banking. I think it'll be a lot of fun. And they said yes. And once we got there, everything we filmed was pretty organic between their reactions when they all climbed to the top. I think Austin's shoes fell off, which was really funny. So you can't plan those things. That is what made the video good, but you can plan a little bit of like, okay, here's the concept, here's the location, here's the driver that's going to be with us. Let's see what we can make happen from there.
Okay. And then how about when it comes to you coming up with creative ways to give influencers these VIP experiences, right? Because I'm assuming that they don't quite exist until you create them. Is that correct? Like you're just kind of coming up with ideas and creating them, or what do those VIP experiences look like?
I've honestly just had to learn as I go, but typical VIP experience during a race weekend will be getting an all access credential so you can go into the garage area where all of the team haulers are and the drivers and the teams are. On top of that, we do have access to suites in the grandstand. So once the race starts, after they've explored in the garage, they will go up and watch the race from one of the suites. And then my favorite part, though, is getting time with drivers and teams, especially pit crew members. They are so fun and entertaining to put with content creators, which we did that with the hockey guys as well. And it once again, it varies. It really is like a menu that I plug and play with during each race weekend, depending on the person's interests and what they want to do. But I feel very lucky that I have a lot of options and a lot of ideas now that I can kind of roll through things with creators and say, well, what about this? What about that? I think this would work well. I think you would interact with this driver. It would be fun. So I feel very lucky that it's not siloed to just one thing for each person every single time. We can have fun with it and figure out what they are interested in and what they want to do. And then that leads to better content when it goes on their channels because they know what their audience wants to see them do or interact with or anything like that.
Yeah. Has this been something that, because I feel like I've been seeing more specifically within sports, like bring on influencers, or even now you see influencers at the Grammys. And I feel like I actually recently saw a content creator. There was like recently, was it the Oscars, the Grammys? There was some award
Yeah,
recently. Do you know which one it was?
no, because I
Okay, but there
am
was
in
something.
race mode weekend all the time. Yeah.
Okay, there was an award, and like I guess some influence, like people were like kind of hating on the influencers, of like, why are you guys going to this? Like, this is for like celebrities, and Okay, you go ahead.
I
You go
think I
first.
know, was it Drew Afuelo? I think she was at one recently, and Brittany Broski, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay, I forget who it was. I just like was scrolling through, but I loved the point made was that like we're there because this like the celebrities or the athletes are there to perform. Right? It's their work day. Like it's they're going
Yep.
and they're participating. Like they're gonna get an award, or if it's sport, like they're gonna go perform. And so like we as the content creators are there to share the things on social media because otherwise it would just be the actual media, right? It would be the news outlets. There wouldn't be anybody else posting on social media. And so I like loved that perspective of that it does allow us, like the viewers at home, to get to see something that we wouldn't normally see if we were just to go watch the show on TV. But I think it's interesting because I feel like I don't remember this always being around, or maybe I'm wrong and it has been around for longer than I think.
I think I have a few connections and friends who are with um, the NFL and the NHL, and I asked them, and they're like, "Yeah, we are amping up work with content creators because it's the real time, the quick posting a story, posting a carousel, something that makes it special. Whereas a lot of things that are, let's say, filmed and like heavily produced and edited, that takes a little bit of time. So by then the event is over and they're just now posting about it. Whereas the benefit of an influencer content creator is they can post about it right away. They are on top of it. They can share their experience firsthand while you're watching the race on TV or the award show on TV.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're posting it in real time, or yeah, if they're at the VIP experience before and they're posting on it before, maybe you're more likely to tune in and actually watch it because now you're getting to know about it because
Exactly.
they're sharing it. But it is interesting because I think it is changing a lot. Like we're starting to see that a lot more of the, I don't even know if it's experiential influencer marketing. I don't even know if it
Yeah.
has a term to, is that the actual term?
We'll go with it. That works
Yeah.
for me.
But I think it is something that, and I think it's also really special because I think it's cool when like even an e-commerce brand will do something where they create an experience because like at the end of the day, we're always seeing influencers being gifted a million things, right? You see like the PR halls are crazy for influencers. Like they're getting sent
Yes.
so many products. So to see them at an experience is so much more engaging, I think, especially from like us watching online and we just see so many different products that getting to see them, you know, you also get to see your favorite influencers do things that you wouldn't normally see them do is fun and exciting.
Yeah. It's a fun switch up for sure. And I think too, I'm not trying to say anything bad about anyone who works for a company or a brand that just exclusively has a tangible product to send to a influencer. But I think when you have them at these events or when they're doing interviews on the red carpet, you do get an authentic, just like you and I talking right now, you get an authentic interaction with them. It's not going to be edited or have an approval process. Like it's going to go live pretty quickly, and you get to just see what they're doing that night at that event.
That is very true. It is a much different perspective. Yeah, because it's like, oh, at home filming selfie camera versus typically like when I see them at the events, it's like someone else is filming or like it's just more like I'm here now, this is what we're doing, this is what's going on. And
Yes.
it's just like a little bit exciting, I think. Yeah. Okay, one thing I also wanted to touch on with you is kind of going back. I know you briefly mentioned how you got your job at NASCAR, but prior to that, there was a role that was not quite working for you. And I know something that you feel really passionate about is knowing when to make your next move. And I think it can be really hard to leave a role or explore new opportunities. Sometimes I feel like we all as like humans will get comfortable where we are. So can you share a little bit about that experience and then your decision and like comparing that to what your growth has looked like at NASCAR?
Can I overshare on here? How far do you want me to
Absolutely.
go with this?
Go for it.
um, it's only because I say that because I did not feel comfortable when all of this first happened. But I do think it's important to share this because I want people to know that you can come back from these situations. So prior to NASCAR, I was working at another company. I kind of knew right away it was not going well. It was a mixture of the job was not for me, but also there were a lot of changes in the org and it just became not fun. So that's when I started applying for jobs. I applied for the NASCAR job. And like I mentioned, the day that I got the phone call from NASCAR, an hour later, I was on a call with my boss and they put me on a PIP, a performance plan, which a part of me right there was like, I have the offer, I haven't signed anything, but I'm just going to say I'm out. But my husband was like, you got to see it through, go with grace, it's going to be fine. So I was able to that next week obviously tell them, hey, I have this other job lined up. This is happening. I'll be out in 2 weeks. But it was disheartening. And I think it affected a little bit of my confidence when I first started at NASCAR because I'd struggled with that job so much. I knew it wasn't working. And then that happened. But on the same day, I got this really awesome job offer. And
That's
so
crazy
probably for
that it
the
was
first
the same day though. That's actually crazy.
it was wild. I could not believe that happened. And for the longest time, I felt the shame of, oh, they gave me a PIP. I don't want to talk about it. But I think sharing that experience makes people realize like it's sometimes a job is just not for you and the situation is not for you. And it's okay. I was trying desperately to get out of it, but it had just taken a little bit of time. And then my luck had it when that happened, both things on the same day. I was like, I have to take this job. This is crazy. And now I've been at NASCAR for 3 years. I've had um, a title change and then a promotion. And I'm doing things in the industry that have never been done before. And I just feel so lucky and kind of like, how did I get here? How did this happen? This is my dream job. And I didn't even know it would be with this company or in influencer marketing, but it all worked out and I'm okay with sharing it all now. But when it first happened, it was very shameful and upsetting. And like I said, my confidence was pretty low. And then once I was at NASCAR for a couple of months, it rebuilt pretty quickly because it solidified that, oh, you are good at something. You are good at this role. You know what you're talking about. Don't think about yourself that way anymore. Like this is for you now. Focus on that.
Do you mind sharing what the PIP was for?
What was it for?
You don't even, I love that you don't even
I
remember.
don't even remember. I that job was a paid social media role. And
Uh-huh.
I was managing 3 different brand accounts. There was a ton of changes. We'd switched over systems. I think it was either for setting up an ad incorrectly, even though the system was something I'd used for the very first time, like the UTM structure or something like that. You know what? I don't remember.
Yeah, but
Let's just
something
say
like
it.
nonsensical, something just tiny. Like it was something like that.
Yeah, it was something I remember when my boss at the time said, "This is why you're going on the PIP." I was like, really? What? I knew things were not great. So it was very clear that they just wanted me out. And that's okay. I found something better. I'm much happier. And um it was definitely a good learning experience. I learned a lot from that company that has helped me with any kind of like processes and being accountable and being very open with communication and clear. So it's not that I walked away without anything. I learned a lot from that place and I'm very grateful, but it just wasn't for me. And now I'm in the role that is for me. So
Yeah, that's honestly such an incredible story and just going to show too that like of course you want to have accountability in any role that you have around your performance, right? It's not like, oh, if I'm performing bad, it's like not my fault. It's just a bad company. Like that's not always the case. But it can be the case where it isn't you exactly. It's just not the right fit. And I always say dating analogies all the time when it comes to jobs, but I just think it's so true. It's just like you could be in a relationship, you could be the best partner ever, but it just isn't gonna work if it's not the right person. And I think it's the
yeah,
same when it comes to jobs, is like yes, you have to put in 100% and yes, you take accountability, but also sometimes you have to be able to recognize that like no matter how much effort I put in here, it's not going to work and that's okay. And that's not a reflection on me or my worth or my capabilities. And I think for you, that was so serendipitous that it literally happened the same day. You got to have both polar opposites, but also even just to hear that it still affected you at the beginning of your job, I think is so natural and so relatable of as much as we want to say like, oh, we won't let external things like hurt us, like they absolutely do. And that's great to kind of hear and for you to open up about that experience because I think maybe some other people may be feeling similarly in a role that just isn't working for them.
Yeah, I'm happy to share. Ask me anything.
Yes, I love it. I think that's so helpful. And then again, like seeing you here at NASCAR for 3 years doing something super fun and exciting is also really cool to hear. Is there anything that any trends you're seeing in the influencer industry, anything you're excited about in the next couple of years, or anything you anticipate changing in terms of like your industry?
That's a good question. I do think in my industry, I'm going to speak this one into existence. I think we're going to see more drivers become their own influencer content creators. Um,
Okay.
that's my fingers crossed one. I think obviously they have a very difficult job. They're on the road, they're driving, they're training, this and that. They have a whole PR team, social media manager that does a lot of their content, which is great. But I would love to see them in front of the camera. Um, I don't know, doing a cooking video, doing watching a scary movie and reacting to it, because so much of what you see is just them as the driver. I want to know about the person and who they are.
Yeah.
So that's a fun one. And then I'll say also relevant, I guess, to my industry. And something I have noticed is a lot of sports influencers, content creators are now rotating within other sports industries. So the hockey guys are the hockey guys, but they came over to NASCAR. And then I helped get them connected with IndyCar. And then I think they've been doing some other things with sports industries. And then I've also worked with a few other sports content creators who have been in golf and football, and they have also come over to NASCAR as well. So I hope that we can all collectively share that network because there is a similar NASCAR is complicated at times, but there is a very similar theme to it. And I think once these athletes and then content creators get on the ground, they're like, oh, I can pick this up really quickly. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's really cool to hear. I hope you're speaking them into existence, and I hope we'll start to see more of those in the next couple of years. My last question for you, Oz, is if you just have any last advice that you want to share with young women in marketing who maybe want to have a career like yours someday, what do you want to share with them?
Hmm. I know we've already talked about this a lot, but take don't stress too much if you struggle in school or if you didn't get into the exact college or find the right major. My major was hospitality and tourism, and now I'm in influencer marketing. It evolves and changes. It really is about putting yourself out there and taking as many experiences as you can. And I I do feel kind of strongly a little bit about this. And also we talked about it earlier, but um figure out, navigate your soft skills, and one of them should be finding your voice. That was something that was hard for me. I felt like I couldn't speak up in a meeting or share my thoughts and opinions, but luckily my job has helped me figure that out and navigate how to how to speak up and how to incorporate my opinion into the right settings, the right places. You do have a voice. Your thoughts and opinions are valid, and don't be scared to show them, to speak them into existence. It might feel difficult or like you're the only one who's coming from a different angle, but ask those questions, ask for more context, challenge processes, offer new ideas, all of that, poke holes in things, because other people are scared to ask those questions too and speak up. And if you can do that, that'll also show the rest of the people in the room, like, hey, I have something I want to say or something I want to speak on. So don't be scared, speak up, get all that experience that you can, and put yourself out there, and it'll work. Something good will come your way.
I love that. What an inspiring note to end this episode on. Thank you so much, Osley, for coming on Marketing Girly. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you. I loved it so much.